Hey guys, Editor Lily here. I'm letting you know I am editing today's podcast, and for some reason there's this really weird lighting glitch going on where it'll be like super saturated and then not as saturated and then more saturated and not saturated. I don't know. I can't fix it. It's not so bad to where I need to put a flash warning on here, but it is very noticeable. So just a heads up, if you're watching this, just ignore it and enjoy the rest of the podcast. But if you're listening to it, then it's not your problem. But just letting you know, I tried to fix it. Just ignore it and enjoy the episode.
You guys like my little whiteboard? It says Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Hey kiddos, welcome back to my podcast, Thinking Like a Taurus, and we made it to the new year! Yay! And we are already halfway through January. What? I wanted to say really quickly, thank you guys so much for tuning into this podcast while we get it up and running. I'm so happy we finally got this started. Some quick announcements before we start. This podcast is officially on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, so please go check it out if you want to listen to it instead of watching it here on YouTube, because we are on those three platforms. I'm working on Apple Music. It's taking a little bit more, but don't worry, if you have one of the other three, you can hear it there. Alright, quick promo over. Let's go ahead and get into the weekly update. Weekly Update is a segment where I tell you all the interesting things that happened between episodes, and now that we actually have 2 episodes, I can tell you what happened between 1 and 2. So far, not a bad start to the year, honestly. 2023 is going pretty good. I feel like I shouldn't be saying that, though, because the last time I said that, we had a global pandemic. Last week, I made a video about my earring collection. Go check that out, and I couldn't even fit all of my earrings into one video because there's just so many, and I have some news for you. I got 3 more. My collection grew since that video came out, and I'm sorry. But, I mean, look, this is one of the pairs. I'll put a picture of it right here. This is one of the pairs. They're little robots, dudes. I mean, come on, they're so cute. I also got butterfly hoops and these really cool rainbow-looking hoops, and I love them. So, the collection grew, and I now have 82 pairs. Ay. I'll get to a part 2 of my earring collection eventually, but you saw a couple of them. You saw quite a few. Oh, and also for Christmas, my friend got me this amazing picture. I mean, look at that. It's cars, guys. Come on. Like, honestly, that sounds like that's about it. It's been a lot of work. All right, let's go ahead and get into the stuff that you probably came here for, and we're going to start this episode off with another installment of TikTok of the Day. Today's TikTok of the day actually goes with the last episode, because in the last episode of this podcast, I talked a lot about Five Nights at Freddy's. This popped up, and it was amazing to watch. I watched it like 6 times because I was just fascinated. It combines 2 of my favorite things, making things and Five Nights at Freddy's. This TikTok comes from Little Gem 4. She makes all these amazing looking props and suits and costumes. And this one specifically came out about 3 days ago when I'm filming this. She's building glam rock chica. But I'm loving how she does this. Like, she maps it out on a big piece of paper and she 3D prints it. I want a 3D printer so bad. Because, I mean, look at that. You can make anything out of 3D printing stuff. But she builds all the pieces and colors them and sands them. And it's oh my god, it's just so cool. And it fits perfectly to her face, too, obviously, because she scales it. But it's like, wow. I mean, look at that. It's so clean, like it's so smooth. And the eyes, she puts eyelashes and they glow. The eyes glow, guys. Come on, that is so cool. The paint is nice and clean. And the earrings, dudes. She made the giant triangle earrings. But all the details that are put into this thing are amazing. And the eyes can open and they move on their own. Just that head is awesome. I can't wait to see that suit finished, because that is going to look amazing. I think she's the one that made that full-size Glam Rock Freddy suit, didn't she? And it's fully functional, like it moves. The only thing it doesn't have is the stomach hatch, obviously, but like, it looks so good. Another one that I'm extremely obsessed with, this is a bit sidetracked from today's TikTok of the day, but it's the same person, is she made Vanellope's cart from Wreck-It Ralph. And it's like movable, you can drive it. It's so awesome, guys. But mainly I'm talking about the Glam Rock Chica. The amount of detail and how smooth it was, and I can't even imagine how long that that's taking to make. 3D printing already takes a super long time, especially if it's really big. Like, how many prototypes did she make before she finally got to size? And if she didn't make any prototypes and she got it immediately, wow. I love how accurate the colors are and how the earrings are metallic. Like, the giant triangle earrings are, like, metallic. And the mouth moves and the eyes move and glow. How they change from purple to, like, I think it's meant to be red. I'm obsessed with, like, making props. I've made quite a few props in my days, honestly. Not a lot, nothing like that. But I've made, like, a prop Audrey 2, a puppet Audrey 2, a Faz cam, which you've seen recently in my Gregory posts. I plan on making so many more. Like, I have the biggest cardboard collection ever. Don't get me started. I make anything out of cardboard, and it's really cool. That's what I made. 90% of the stuff that I have is out of, like, cardboard and other easy tools. The Faz cam that I have is made out of mainly cardboard, tape, clay, a tiny bucket for the hat, and then paint. That's it. There's nothing else on there. There's nothing else holding it together. It's very fragile. Same thing with my Sundrop mask. If you watched my Sundrop cosplay that came out a little while ago, like a few months ago. Not a few months ago. It was like a month ago. That mask that I have, that spinning mask, is made out of a Pizza Hut box. Like, you can make stuff, like, out of anything. Literally, it's a Pizza Hut box. If you look at the back of it, the logo's still on it, and that's the fidget spinner that makes it spin. It works, guys, okay? If it works, and it looks good, why not give it credit? So I make stuff out of cardboard, and she's straight up making stuff out of, like, the 3D printer filament, all the wiring, and it's just so cool. That whole suit is gonna look amazing. I do not have the time to do something like that, and I wish I did. I wish I had that much time on my hands that I could do something like that, because it's so impressive. I would love it if I could just, like, see the entire process. Like, obviously it's a TikTok, so there's a lot of jump cuts and all that, so it's not fully done on camera, unless you, like, make a YouTube video about it. I don't know if she did. Does she have a YouTube channel? So she does have a YouTube channel. It's at Little Gem. Go check her out. But can you imagine how much time that takes? That has to take so long. All right, after seeing that amazing work of art, next we are introducing a brand new segment that I like to call On the Record. On the Record is a segment where I talk about all things tech. I'm a huge tech nerd, so I like to talk about, like, equipment and filming stuff and photography, and I like it a lot. Today we're going to be talking about a piece of equipment that is really good if you're wanting to start making YouTube videos or vlogs, but you don't want to get all the big fancy, like, starter equipment. This is a great, cheap, beginner piece. This is a vlogger tripod, and it has a light and a microphone, and it is really, really, really good. And I'm going to build it for you and show you what it looks like and show you how amazing it is. So it starts off with this little handheld piece, and that's the hot shoe where all the attachments will go. And it works with a camera or a phone. So if I wanted to film with my phone, all I'd have to do is just attach this little phone piece on there, and then I have a handheld phone tripod. But that's not all. It comes with more attachments. It's like a Barbie doll or a Bratz doll where you can change out their shoes. It also has this amazing LED light. Like, this is small, but you won't believe how powerful this thing is. If I just hold down the button, look at that. Look at how bright this is. This is such an amazing light for how small it is. It has 10 settings, 10 light settings. So this is how bright it can go. It looks like I'm holding, like, just a ball of light. Like, holy cow. And it's the brightest and smallest LED, like, cube I've ever seen. It's the same quality as, like, my ring light. And my ring light was only $30, but it's a really good ring light. It's one of my favorites, actually. And the best part is that this light is battery powered. So I could bring this out and then the light dies and I'm like, oh no, what do I do? Just go get batteries. It just takes 2 AA batteries and then you're back on the road with this bright mini spotlight almost. It is so good. And then it also comes with a very tiny little microphone. Like, look how small this thing is. This thing it either will or won't work, depending on what kind of phone you have. If you're filming with your phone, it goes into a headphone jack. Now, most phones nowadays don't have a headphone jack like mine, or most iPhones, they don't have a headphone jack either. I have a converter that if I have plug-in headphones, I can plug it into my phone, But because it's only a headphone jack, I don't think the mic actually works. Now, if you have a mic and headphone extension that you can put in, because I do, I just didn't feel like it, you could probably get the microphone to work externally. But external microphones can get a bit touch and go. Like, it can be pretty hard to connect an external microphone to your phone unless you have a really good one. And then it all pieces together into one big tripod. And it looks super heavy, but it's really not. When I put my phone in here, like, it's super mobile. Like, you kind of have to be a bit careful, just as long as none of the pieces fly out of their hot shoes. But it works pretty well. And obviously the bottom part can connect to any camera. And if the camera has a hot shoe, then you can put the light on it, and then the mic connects to the light. And you have a mobile tripod. I'm very big on get what works and what's affordable. I'm a very, frugal person. If it's affordable and it works like magic, then go for it. You don't always have to go for the really expensive equipment to start off with. I started off my makeup videos with dollar store makeup and my bathroom mirror. That's what I use to make makeup videos. Filmed in my bathroom against, my mirror. I propped up my phone on there, and I hoped for the best. And now I have, a ring light. I have that fancy tripod. I have this very lovely podcaster mic. So you start out with what's small and what's functional, but also affordable. Big designer bags are always, super expensive, but I can find a really cute mini purse for $15 at the Arc, and it's functional and it's great. So always go for what's affordable and is a great place to start. You don't always have to go for the big leagues right when you get on the internet. If you want to be making videos on TikTok, you don't need to go for the big expensive makeup brands if that's what you want to do, or the really big expensive ring light. My ring light was $30 and it works like magic. It is a lovely ring light. So you really don't have to go for the big stuff. Start out small. Anyway, now that you've seen how much I really, really, really like tech, we're going to go ahead and move on to the very next segment. And this one I'm pretty excited to introduce. It is something that I like to call curtain call. Curtain call is for my fellow theater kids out there, because we are getting into the theater business, and I'm so excited for this segment. I say in the future because this one makes me very, very sad. I'm starting it out with a very sad topic. Beetlejuice closed last week. My TikTok was flooded with people talking about how Beetlejuice is closed. People were showing the final speeches, and at one point, Elizabeth was just sobbing because it was her last show as Lydia, and I'm like, stop. I literally started crying because I love Beetlejuice. I loved always seeing the clips of what would happen on stage, seeing the sandworms. It was great. Alex Brightman took a break recently because he got a mad concussion, and then he came back, and then the show closed, and I'm like, I hope to see Alex Brightman in another production because he's a great actor. The whole set was gorgeous. I mean, the set was light, the lighting on the set was beautiful, and I thought all the special effects were great. It was a very comedic show, and I listened to the beginning, I listened to the ending speech, and he was talking about the statistics where over 1 million people saw Beetlejuice on Broadway. Most of them were first-time Broadway viewers and a much younger audience. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. I remember seeing them come back after 2020 happened, and they came back on Broadway, and it was super exciting. And I was like, oh, Beetlejuice is back. And then in summer last year, I saw them post about it being Beetlejuice is closing January 8th. I'm like, they're closing already? Why? I'm a big, Broadway person. The first ever Broadway show I saw was actually an off-Broadway show, and it was Little Shop of Horrors, and I love that show. That show was amazing. I went to go see it dressed as Seymour. I brought my 2 pop figures with me, and I even got to meet Mr. Seymour himself, and I got to meet Skylar Astin at the end of the show, and he was so nice. I have his autograph in a book, and I'm treasuring that for the rest of my life. I have so much merch for Little Shop, and it's not even funny. I have the entire pop collection with Audrey 2, Baby Audrey 2, Seymour, Audrey, and Orange Scrivello. I wish they made a pop figure of Mr. Moshnick. I have a pillow, earrings, necklace. My grad cap is themed after Little Shop. It says Suddenly Senior on it. I'm pretty proud of that. I also have, my 2 Audreys, my 2 Audrey 2, creations that I made. I have a t-shirt from the actual show. I have the playbill from the show. I have a lot. I love it. I also have the DVD of the original movie. And while I was dying of the flu, I watched the director's cut of the movie, and it was so good. I've seen quite a few shows in my day. Not like mainly Broadway. I've seen a couple shows that I heard of that were on Broadway, but I saw Newsies because my friend was in it, and it was amazing. I was so happy to see Newsies in person because I've only ever seen it on Disney+, but I got to see it in person, and I would kill to be a newsie. Honestly, I feel like that would be so much fun. My friend was a Brooklyn newsie, and I was like, dude, that's freaking awesome. And the way the theater was set up when we went to go see Newsies was there's like the big stage, and then there's an overhang above where more people will sit. And during like the whole Newsies gathering and everything, during the song Brooklyn's Here, I had the Bronx above my head. And that was so cool. I got to turn around and be like, it's the Bronx! And I dressed as a newsie to go see it. And I did the same thing when I went to go see Tuck Everlasting. I can finally say that I've seen Tuck Everlasting because I really enjoy that show. It was such a good show. The girl who played Winnie Foster sounded just like the girl on the official soundtrack. If you look it up on Spotify or anything and you listen to Partner in Crime, she sounded just like her. So much so that I had to look it up in the program and on Spotify to make sure, like, is that the actual Winnie Foster? But it wasn't, but I was like, ooh, she could pass for her. She was so good. But that show was really good, really kept me on my toes. And the ending, oh my god, don't get me started on the ending. I'm not going to say what happens, obviously, if you're going to go see it, but the ending freaking made me sob. I love seeing shows. I also like working shows. I like working backstage. If I were to be on stage, I would really only do it in Newsies and Ride the Cyclone. I love Ride the Cyclone, though. Okay, that soundtrack is so good. But I like working backstage. I was the wig master for my school's production of Diary of Anne Frank, and that show hits hard. I got to watch their final rehearsal before it premiered because obviously when it was up, I was backstage doing wig stuff. A friend of mine was Anne, and she had to do like this like horror movie style scream at one point. I was watching the show and she did the scream and I met up with her afterwards. I was like, dude, your scream gave me a heart attack. And she actually apologized for it. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, that's a good thing. You're going to scare everybody in the audience. That's awesome. Anyway, I am a huge theater kid. I love working in theater and I love watching theater. And Beetlejuice, we're gonna freaking miss you, but that's not gonna stop us from watching the clips from the show over and over again, watching them perform on Good Morning America, on at the Tonys, at the Macy's Day Parade a few years ago. Never gonna be forgotten, ever, ever, ever. All right, I am sorry, my fellow theater kids, but that is the end of Curtain Call, and we are headed to the very last segment of today's episode. Just like how we ended the last one, we are ending it with Quote of the Day. Today's quote is from yet another TV show. This TV show is called Dog the Bounty Hunter. I was obsessed with that TV show when I was younger, and I still am. It's a great show. And this quote comes from Beth Chapman. Roll the clip.
And so when girls come up to me and think they're going to push me, they realize that there's a lot of muscle behind the hustle.
Muscle behind the hustle. Beth Chapman, Dog the Bounty Hunter, season 6, episode 15. I really like that quote because it really sticks with me. I'm very big on the hustle never stops. You got to keep going. You got to push through. It's gonna be great. And she added muscle behind the hustle with that, and I'm like, absolutely, that's fantastic. So she's like a strong, hardworking woman, and Beth Chapman, keep her in our hearts all the time. Okay, Beth Chapman was my hero. Muscle behind the hustle. Beth Chapman, the hustle never stops. Keep cranking. Keep just killing it, guys. Alrighty, kiddos. Well, that is the end of episode 2 of Thinking Like a Taurus. Woo! We made it to a second episode. That's right. We're still going to keep going. And don't forget, this podcast is every other week. So not next week, but the week after. Next week's video, I think you guys are going to really like next week's video, especially if you follow my TikTok. Little hint, it's for Lavender. So keep an eye out for that video because I'm very excited to film it. Where you can find this podcast is here on YouTube. You can also listen to it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. I am working on Apple Music, so I will let you know if anything changes with that. If you want to watch some of my content when I am not posting on YouTube every Sunday, you can go ahead and check out my TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat, all at Uni Cosplays. I post all kinds of stuff there. I post daily on my TikTok for lots of cosplay videos. I am really going on Gregory for right now, so you're going to see a lot of Gregory videos. And that sounds like that's about it. So thank you, kiddos, so much for tuning in. Don't forget, drink your water, eat your meals, get some good sleep, and I will see you in the next one, okay? Take care of yourselves. Love you!